Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning to you all who are following us on the video later. You're not here with us today. Just know that you are here with us in spirit and in our hearts this morning here at Unity Church of San Marcos. We hope to see you again very, very soon, and thank you once again for taking the time to spend part of your day with us here. So we've been talking about the over the course of the year here, each month I've been kind of tracking the 12 powers and kind of framing talk around whatever the power of the month is. And as I mentioned in our earlier contemplative time, the power of the month for this month is the power of zeal. We'll define that and talk a little bit about, I always find that a curious word because the word zeal kind of feels like a archaic kind of word. We don't really use that word very much nowadays, and when we do use it, we usually use it where we're describing somebody as a zealot or they're overzealous, and it's kind of has taken on this connotation of kind of a negative, excessive, kind of thing. When in reality, the actual word and everything, kind of defines this sort of divine enthusiasm, this energy that empowers our lives and dreams. It's what gives energies to our creative expression. It's like another way of looking at it is passion. If we said we had a power of passion, it would be just as relevant as the power of zeal, that power of desire. And I'll tell you all a little story about desire and everything here in just a little bit to kind of make this point. One of the ways that I learned what the power of zeal was really about. But as we go into that, first of all, the power center, how Charles places these various powers and creative faculties that we have at various places in our body. Power of zeal is kind of at the back of our brain, near the medulla oblongata and everything. And it's really it's a divine impulse. It's an urge that we feel. And one of the ways to look at it is that when you feel that urge to go forward with a project or something that you have an interest in doing, maybe something that you're overcoming a fear even, to something that's been blocking your experience, and you have that urge to go forward, that's the power of zeal being engaged. It's giving you that signal. Yes, you can do this. And so when you feel that, you're bringing that enthusiasm, that divine enthusiasm, that creative passion into the mix, and that supercharges our dreams and aspirations in our process of transformation. I always remind, I probably say this almost every month, no matter which power I'm talking about, but I say it in this context as well, is that the 12 powers that we have, these 12 creative faculties that Charles Fillmore identified for us, they're not intended to operate in isolation or independently from the other 12 powers. And this is especially true with zeal, so to speak, because you can just imagine that if you got overzealous or overpassionate about something to the point to where you weren't listening to your own reasoning faculties or to your own understanding of how things were, that you could quickly kind of go off the rails just with this sort of blind zeal or blind enthusiasm for something where you just kind of throw all caution, to the wind and you ignore the other faculties. So we really have to understand what the purpose of this power of zeal is for, this divine passion that we have, and then growing our expression of that. It's really, really important for us to be mindful that we do need to check in, with our power of understanding, for example, with the power of love, with the power of our imagination and so forth. And while zeal is that energy that helps us to move forward, we don't want to be moving forward and ignoring our better sense. We were talking about the common sense just a little while ago. It's like sometimes we just get involved, get plugged in, and just go off half baked and everything, and kind of get ourselves in the weeds a little bit and everything, because we're not using these other powers. So it is a very powerful force. It is in play one way or the other in our lives in various ways. Anything that you're very interested in, passionate about, whether it be gardening, travel, just being with people and being part of a community. If you have a a profession that you're, engaged in that you really like. Let's say you're an engineer, for example, and you're just very, very passionate about engineering, and you just really love it. It's your life and everything. Your power of zeal is engaged in that process. There's nothing that we do that when we're moving forward, moving towards a goal, whatever it may be, even if it's a healing experience, if we're going through, sort of a physical disease kind of thing where that's challenging our experience and everything, but we're determined to move through that, to get to the other side, to heal that, we are in fact engaging the power of our zeal, that divine passion and everything, that enthusiasm to help us navigate the challenges that are ahead. So it's not an isolated power. It's, we can look at how we're applying it and where we're directing it in our lives in various kinds of ways. But just be aware that power of zeal, whether you realize it or not, it's kind of always engaged one way or the other. We're either turning the lamp up on it and really firing it towards, something that we really desire to achieve or accomplish or overcome in our lives, or we're dimming that pilot light down and turning it down, and then we're feeling listless and depressed and so forth. If you're feeling depressed, it's because we're ignoring on an energetic level. We won't even get into what the reasons for my depression might be in a particular moment, but if I'm surrendering to that depression and letting that kind of rule my experience, part of what's going on is that I have dimmed down my zeal. I have turned that down, and I'm not letting that into the process, because if I would let that divine passion, if I would let that enthusiasm into the process, it wouldn't be long before I would be out of a depressed state. I may still have things to deal with, that drove the depression, things to heal specifically, but that enthusiasm will help me to navigate that, to move forward once again towards my healing. I want to tell you all this story about how I came to really understand what zeal was, and it probably took, almost 10 years, for it to really sink in. And when I say 10 years, I mean that I finally kind of got it and made the connection, like just in the last year or two. Like, so the 10 years was going back to when I was doing my L.U.T studies, and when you're doing the L.U.T studies, when you're doing the SEE classes, you can do a lot of those, online and this, that, and the other, but when you're doing the L.U.T things, you're literally going up to Kansas City, for a week at a time and taking courses. And I was taking like 4 courses when I would go up there for a week. And we were in one of the classes, one of the metaphysical classes with Dr. Paul Hasselbeck, who was he was one of the leaders of the Unity Institute at that point in time, and I took several classes from him, one of which he taught actually at Unity Church of the Hills some years ago. So I'd met him and I'd been in his classes before. And so we're having this class one day, and of course they're teaching us to be LUTs, and part of that is, you're being a teacher or a public speaker. So he was doing this exercise where there was probably maybe 12, 13, 14 of us in the class. And so he was going around the room, kind of one person at a time, and he had this deck of cards, and it had, the 12 powers and various, unity principles or something, and you're drawing a card out of the deck, and then whatever card you drew, you had to stand up and give a spontaneous, extemporaneous, like 3-minute presentation on this. And so he comes around to me, and I draw my card, and I drew the power of love. I was like, oh man, I got this. Power of love, I can do 3 minutes on power of love. And I get up there and I, do my little presentation, and when it's over, he looks at me and he goes, okay, I got a question for you. And I was like, okay. He says, what comes before love? And I was like, I'm like, well, love is the greatest power of all. I don't think there's anything, anything before love. He goes, yeah, there is. And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I think you're wrong. And I was doubling down on, love is the greatest power of all. I got my whole pitch down. He wasn't asking me, what I misunderstood, mistook him at the time. He wasn't asking me what is superior to love, like what is above love. He was asking me energetically what comes before love. And the word he used in that discussion, as we went back and forth for several minutes, and the rest of the class is like kind of observing, him challenging me and me challenging him, and I was convinced, there's, because once again I was evaluating that there's nothing greater than love, and that wasn't what he was asking. And so the word that he used that comes before love is desire. Desire. And so we talked about that, and we kind of, I kind of like, okay, I gave him that a little bit. Like I could see that. I was like, okay, again, but it wasn't really, thoroughly convinced. But I continued thinking about that experience, even after I left the class and over the years as I've been speaking in churches and so forth. And about a year and a half or so ago, I was doing a talk around the 12 powers, and I was kind of, y'all have heard me talk about, the blending the different powers together, name checking that if I'm using, for example, the reasoning, the judgment, discernment, it's sympathy with the power of understanding, and that they're like twin powers and they work together. So I was doing one of these talks, and it hit me, like, because it hit me like, this is, at that point in time, it was 8+ years from that moment in his class. And it hit me, I was like, oh, he's talking about zeal. Like, he was using the word desire, but he was talking about zeal, like in the context of the 12 powers as we know them, as Charles articulated them. That's the zeal is that divine urge that if you see something attractive, those flowers are just gorgeous, and you just find yourself moving, you want to get closer to them. Or if you go to a zoo or something and you're seeing exotic animals, and one of them just really, really captures your imagination, and you find yourself attracted to it. Okay? That's that impulse of desire. Oh, I want more of that in my life. Okay? You hear a beautiful piece of music, like anything. You can think of anything in your own life in terms of like when you see something and you feel that instant attraction to it. That's the impulse of zeal. That's that impulse of desire. And it does come before love in the way that Paul was describing it that day. That there's that divine urge. We feel that energetic attraction to something. When you feel that, when you experience that with whatever it is, like I could do that with my dog, like Layla. Just like I just see her and I just feel this just love, just like there's no other way to describe it. Like, there's just no other way to describe it. It's like love, yes, and I'm in love with my dog, like in love with my dog. And just like I would do anything for her, she's sweet, she's precious, even when she's being standoffish with me and she's not giving me love, I still love her, right? I still just have that enthusiasm and that passion for her. So it shows up in myriad ways in our lives. It's not just, the person that we love, the person that we're in a relationship with, or, families and close friends. It's like literally, like you want to see world peace. You want to see unity in the world. What's the old thing? Be the change you wish to see in the world. If peace is going to be, it's up to me. Like different kinds of ways. It's like you can't necessarily solve the problems out here in the external world, but I am in charge of what my response is to that. And that if I do my work, if I come from a place of peace, if I come from a place of love, it doesn't necessarily mean the world is totally loving outside of me, but it conditions me to create the habit of my response is love no matter what. That I can manage, that I can be in charge of, and I am in charge of. And so it doesn't mean you do it perfectly, right? You're going to have your moments when somebody cuts you off in traffic, and you're going to have an instantaneous moment of where you literally feel like, man, for just the sake of a few inches or whatever, this could have been, could have been fatal, and we feel that fear, somebody, cutting you off and potentially endangering you. Your first reaction is probably not necessarily, oh, I love you, brother, for cutting me off in traffic. It's like, what the heck are you doing? You can lose your cookies for a minute, and then you have to recalibrate back to love. I used to get very frustrated in traffic, before I was on a spiritual path, and as I continued doing my work over the course of time, one of the ways I gauged if I was making progress was how well I behaved in my car when I was in traffic. Now it's like, instead of losing my mind, about things, it's like I just converted to a blessing. I just say, bless you, brother. Hope you get safely where you're going. Okay? Prayers, light around you, not just for you, but for everybody else that you're going to be cutting off in traffic here over the next few miles. Safety for everybody, and just convert it to a prayer. Then my blood pressure doesn't go up. I don't lose my cookies in my car by myself and everything, and I'm able to maintain my peace even in that moment. You had to have passion for that to be your experience in order to have that experience. Because before I was very reactive, and because what it feels like is a loss of control. Like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, and it potentially is literally an existential kind of thing, where something bad could have happened to you, even to the point of potentially being killed in an accident and everything. It does feel existential in that moment. Maybe you weren't paying attention, and they cut you off, and then you weren't paying close enough attention. So we can practice this literally anywhere. We can practice this literally anywhere. And I want you to be mindful moving forward from today, that you have this capacity for this divine passion, this enthusiasm, divine enthusiasm. And I want to, we'll take a few minutes here in the silence here in just a moment, and do some contemplative time with it. But I want you to be thinking about, when we go into the silence, is like, where are you? Where are you in your own life right now? You don't need to think about the whole arc of your life, but just like right now, just take stock of, what am I passionate about? Where is my divine enthusiasm? Where am I directing that? And as a secondary question to that is like, not only where am I directing that, it's like, what am I feeling listless about in my life? What don't I have seemingly the capacity or passion, something that I might want to achieve, something that I might want to just accomplish in my own life, or a dream you still want to manifest? And are you actually engaging the power of zeal, this divine passion? Just kind of check in with yourself. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just an evaluation of where I am. And then as you evaluate that, where am I being, using the power of my zeal, kind of that I'm passionate about, and where am I not? And how might I have a different experience if I allow myself to direct that desire, that passion, towards this unexpressed, unmanifest idea. So with that, I'm going to play a little bit of a song to kind of give you guys a chance to kind of recalibrate there from the talk. You can turn this off. Thank you once again for spending time with us and checking this out online. Come visit us at Unity Church San Marcos. I'm Rick Busby. We'll see y'all later. Peace.